Good.
Oh, he's just got it. I'm still in uniform, George.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm in the emergency room.
I'm sorry. There's a big crowd. I want to make sure everybody knew we were
Oh, okay.
Well, welcome everybody. It's nice to see a good crew out. We always like interaction in our council meetings, so we're looking forward to the couple of delegations, and we have some good reports tonight, and a special occasion, hopefully by the end, announcement that I can make. So we have to do some work before that, but all good. Some of the councils were down at Roma just recently and the last few days. That's the Rural Ontario municipalities meetings, associations, and started getting some good news from this government. They're starting to actually listen, which is kind of interesting. The Premier, I think it was a whole different world than the last year when I heard him, and we're seeing some good results, and we had some good things happening for the area. So, and especially for rural, they're starting to look at rural, and rightly so, that we drive the economies and whatnot. So I'll maybe talk a little bit more about that in Swift at a little later date. But let's get going. We have a couple delegations, so let's get rolling. Okay. Moved by Councillor Anderson, second by Councillor McKenzie, that the previous minutes of the January 7th, 2020 council meeting, January 9th, 2020 council meeting, November 19th, 2019 closed session meeting, and January 9th, 2020 closed session council meeting are approved. All in favor? Great.
Additional items.
Additional items. Has anybody got Mark? We've got a couple. Anything else? Okay. Moved by Councillor Dirksen, second by Councillor Anderson, the Town of Minto Council convenes in the Committee of the Whole. All in favor? Public meeting. Delegations. So we start off with our delegations tonight, and I'm pleased to ask if Jessica Roden. She's with the Equality and Inclusion Leader for the Upper Grand District School Board, and you're bringing us a message tonight. Thanks for coming. If you want to introduce anybody else, you can. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, for your time tonight. And I also wanted to make it mention that I am not here on behalf of the Upper Grand District School Board. I know. And they're fully in support of my additional work that I do. I'm here on behalf of Minto Pride and the folks that I work with in Minto Pride. And we're not here for any particular ask other than wanting to share some information to inform the folks that we see as our leaders that will make decisions with us and on our behalf moving forward. And so, thank you very much. Just a quote to start off. Until our world decides that every human matters, that everyone has a right to food and safety and freedom and healthcare and equality, it is the obligation of those privileged to have food and safety and freedom and healthcare and equality to fight tirelessly for those who do not. And this is kind of a mantra in a way of something that we strongly believe in. So as I said before, I'm Jessica Rowden. I'll speak in a moment, but I am a member of Minto, and proudly so, and grew up here for most of my life. And I'm here with my team today, which is Caitlin Hall, Racer Rogers, Sam Greer, and Rosie Croft. So what brings me here today is I'm speaking on behalf of my group, but I also wanted to bring some insight from my experiences here as a young person in our community and returning as a family, within a family to this community. I'm very proud to be a Minto resident, and when I saw the slogans coming out about being a place for families to come, that was even more drive for me to participate in ways that I felt would draw all families in a safe and inclusive way to this community. I believe strongly that change is the most powerful from the top down, and that modeling change and modeling behavior is how we make true change in a community and set a tone in a community. And so that's what today was presented as a great opportunity to inform some folks who get to make that decision making and be the model for us in this community. And then the last little piece, and actually during dinner tonight I found out this was not just my sentiment but also others in my team. I grew up in this community very proudly, but throughout my experience in high school was quick to want to leave, as many people in their haste and youth do. But it was in my years of reflection afterwards that I realized the parts of living in a community like this, as particularly ours, that bothered me, and how it was really important for me to come back and try my best to affect change. And I heard other people in my team say very similar things about how they couldn't wait to get away as a youth, and how they were back because they wanted to try to change the things that drove them away in the first place. And so I just wanted to say I'm here today I'm here for Minto Pride, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. Ultimately, Minto Pride is an event that we ran in the summertime, put together by the folks on our committee and myself, to celebrate LGBTQ people and their family. And we strongly believe that is part of ensuring that this community is safe for all people. And I want to stand before you today as somebody who's straight and married to a man and living in this community with a lot of values and beliefs, but wanting to explain to you why I'm here, why I'm doing this work, so that perhaps you can see too why this is a conversation for all folks to take leadership in, not just certain individuals. And from that, I want to divide it into three things. We won't have time for all of them today because I'm grateful for the time you've given us, but it's not enough time to look at how that divides into three things. I'm just going, oh, perfect. Just wanted to see if you could see the same thing as me.
Good.
To learning, reflecting, and then the practice. So this idea that we can't possibly be leaders of things that we don't understand. And so I want to offer a little bit of learning today. And then maybe a little bit of an opportunity that in your own time you could do some reflecting. And then ultimately what our group's trying to do, which is the action, the practice. How do we actually make change in our community in a positive way? And so the next few slides are just going to be looking at some of those things a little bit closer in. And I'm just being mindful of our time. So the first one is some of the learning. And so I just wanted to offer that when I do this for both my professional role as an educator, as well as when I'm supporting other groups that I'm invited in to talk about equity for, people often think of equity as a conversation that doesn't involve them unless they are somebody who lives in a marginalized identity. And I just wanted to point out that that's not the case, and that equity and inclusion is actually, and the work that we're doing is actually everybody's work, and that we all have identities, and identities directly connect to how we walk through this world. And there are some people who have parts of their identity that are very visible, and you'll see in the image provided there, and you'll notice this is an image that's also in our high school at Norwell. I worked greatly with Paul Richard to do some work around equity there. It's this idea that there are certain people who walk through this world, and who they are and parts of who they are can't be hidden. And there's also lots of parts of who people are that are below this visibility line when you consider an iceberg analogy. And ultimately, all of those things, whether visible, which is obviously more impactful, or not, do impact every single part of who we are and how we walk through this world, how we navigate with systems, the rights and privileges we're afforded. And it would be very hard-pressed for us to try to separate identity from those things. And so I'm here today just to say that we all have identities. There's all things about who we are that make us who we are, that make it easier or harder, or sometimes a combination of those things, to walk through this world. And so we come to this group realizing that we're here to talk about the LGBTQ community for that reason, because they have parts of their identity that make it harder for them to walk through this world. Next, please. Thank you. I won't get really into, originally I was going to do a huge timeline of the history, realized that was obviously not, and that's the teacher in me that I just can't turn off. We don't have time for that today, but I just wanted to summarize a few things. And the first one is that we know, and I could have provided you a ton of proof, and you know this as well as educated folks, that LGBTQ people have existed throughout all of noted history of humans and all different cultures and places of the world. And so I offer that to you as an example of how this isn't a trend, this isn't a new thing, this isn't going away. And so I wanted to offer that. The second piece is that there has been some really negative histories of LGBTQ people in connections to how they were perceived through misinformation and ignorance, right? So directly connected to things like the criminal world, or immorality, or mental disorders. And so we know that has not in any way been proven, and it's actually been disproven time again. So there's another bit of a history. And then the third piece is just a little bit of the, a lot of times people will say you're using LGBTQ plus or different versions of that acronym. I'm not sure what that means. We talked in my group today about how that could have been a whole 3-day. I do that as a 3-day workshop for staff in my role. To me, those are acronyms. That's an acronym that stands for different identities within the queer population, and they are subdivided into diversity is connected to your sex, diversity is connected to your gender identity, diversity is connected to your sexual attraction, and diversity is connected to gender expression. And I wanted to offer that today because another thing that we sometimes hear in this world is, I'm okay with certain people, I just don't want to hear about it, or it's too private. And I appreciate that in a way, but it also really minimizes identity in general, as well as the fact there's a lot of people within that acronym. And so an example I've heard somebody say is, that would be similar to somebody saying, your Dutch identity is just about clogs. Okay, so just kind of that same idea that sex and sexuality is one piece of somebody's entire identity. It doesn't make up who they are. The second piece, that's okay. The second column there is just talking about the oppression. So if you consider the history of those people, then you can obviously imagine there are a lot of oppression that people within the LGBTQ community have experienced. And I just wanted to draw a few parallels there, because one thing that we were speaking about as well as a team earlier is that I firmly believe in all the work that I do personally and professionally that equity and inclusion change happens when people don't see people who aren't them as the other. And so I wanted to offer some parallels today and just say that some of the pushback that we had experienced and some of the great conversations and great questions we experienced were around why the need to have a celebration and a parade. And I wanted to draw some parallels to the fact that many groups of humans have used those measures to gain rights and freedoms in this world. And as a woman, I'm very thankful for the marches and parades that were done on my behalf by suffragettes all around this world so that I could have equal rights and opportunities in this world. Immigrants, if you're not an Indigenous person, you are in some way an immigrant to this land. And we have all had ancestors who have fought for rights and privileges before us, quite likely with marches, parades, public forums such as this. And so the tools we are using as a group are ones that have been used time and time again by groups who have experienced oppression to fight for rights and privileges. And that's what we're trying to do here as a group as well. Thank you. The next, again, I spoke a little bit about privilege and oppression, but I just wanted to say that often people in leadership position, either because of their identity or because of the role that they have privileges. And it's very important to us that we use those positions of privilege to do the affecting of change, because people who are experiencing oppression are not likely to be the change makers on their own behalf, because unfortunately there's a lot of things against them. And again, I pointed out some examples about that. We don't have time today to, oh my gosh, I'm already almost out of time, to look at the clip. But I wanted to offer it to you. It was a moment of aha for me, and just to summarize it, not to give it entirely away, I saw it a very long time ago. It was a gentleman who I believe is a pastor standing in front of a town council very similar to this. And he's there to speak against the right of marriage for gay people. And as he's speaking, and he says to the group, I'm reading from a sermon in my church. Somebody kindly says, you have 30 seconds to go. And at 30-second mark, he says, actually, I just wanted to point out that what I've done tonight is I've read this sermon that speaks against the right to marriage for same-sex people. And all I did was take... That's my timer. Okay, I hear you. All I did was take a sermon from the 1940s written by my church, and I substituted where it said black segregation and black people and how that was immoral, and just crossed that out and put gay rights. And he said, if we were on the wrong side of history once, might we be on the wrong side of history again? And so I don't have a lot more time, but I just wanted to leave that with you, that we are looking just for your openness to learn with us and understand that the work that we're doing is in support of folks that we believe are experiencing a lot of oppression, that we have many of in our community, and that we feel it would be a best service to this community if we could draw more diverse individuals here and retain the youth that we have who might be leaving for similar reasons that we did as young people. So thank you very much.
If you maybe get Chris to put some of those pictures of the event.
Do you mind?
No, I totally think you should.
Thank
you.
It was an amazing. You did an excellent job for your first event, all your team, and it was an amazing event.
May I have 30 more seconds? Is that
Give you
appropriate?
30 more seconds.
Thank you. We had approximately 200 people attending our event. It was family friendly. We had a ton of children and youth and entire families. I would say, from my own understanding, about half of the folks there are not identifying as LGBTQ. They're there just because they believe firmly, like we do, in the allyship work that has to happen in our community to make this a safe place for all people. We had representation from local municipal government, from our NPP. The weather was mostly in support of us that day, and we look forward to, we're looking right now to have a winter event in February where we are going to invite all families to come socialize at the library and read books and play board games and celebrate all forms of love close to Valentine's Day. And then our Pride event that we are going to have in June this year, which is officially Pride Month. So thank you very much for that. I think there's maybe, that's it for photos.
Yeah. No, there's some good, yeah, it was a good time. It was a good time. Questions? Comments?
Thank you, Mayor Bridge. Jess, I can see why these guys chose you as their spokesperson,
Thank you.
because you're pretty dynamic. I mean, since the festival, if you want to call it that, in Palmerston last year, I mean, it's pretty amazing on the number of people that are talking about it. And when you Google it, it's, you have to know how to talk about it. It's really quite unique, and I support it. So.
Somebody who works with our youth every single day, they're here. They get
Yeah.
this, and it's important if we're sincerely behind a community that wants to retain our youth and draw diverse people. We firmly believe this is. But thank you for those kind words.
Thank you for choosing to come back to Minto.
Yeah, love it.
Jean?
Just your comment about school and the fact that you wanted to leave the community, was that because of behaviors from your peers or teachers or the community as a whole, or what was it that made you want to leave?
So I'm speaking on behalf of my personal experiences here, though I know my teammates will have their own as well. And I look around the room and see some folks that I went to school with, so you might be able to appreciate this as well. I had 2 friends growing up in this community whose families are very well connected and gave back, and they experienced physical assaults multiple times a week because of their sexuality. And then later, one of the attendees of our event last year, which might bring me to tears right now, but I'll try my best not to, as a former gym teacher from my high school, who said that she had experienced things such as male colleagues gesturing to her and sexually assaulting her, and that she and her partner still to this day don't fully feel safe in our communities being their true selves. And so that's those types of things that really motivate me, as well as being a mother now, to want to really make this community. And again, those don't represent our entire community, and as a teen I knew that as well, but I also knew that in that moment, in that time, as a youth, I did not feel this was a community that truly had the investment in understanding diversity and even cultural diversity or religious diversity, but mostly the LGBTQ experiences that I had, where we felt like we had to physically keep our friends safe from that kind of assault.
That's very unfortunate. It saddens me to hear that, and I'm hoping that we get past that in so many ways. There are so many areas, not just LGBTQ, like skin color, religion, all of it. But that's profoundly disturbing, but thank you for sharing.
No problem. And that's what I wanted. We wanted to come today and just say, we know that in 50 years, everybody will be looking back and getting this as commonplace. And we just as a community want to be on the right side of the history.
Thank you very much for your dedication. Thank you for coming. Now, our next delegation, I think, Meg, you're going to be doing? Yes, sir. Meg Young is going to be doing it on behalf of Roneen. So. And you have your group with you. I don't know if you want to introduce anybody or you're good. All right. Really, we should know them all, right? Okay. Shoot. Go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Mayor Bridge and council members. My name is Meg Young, and I'm a resident living in Minto Township. And I have been asked, on behalf of our delegation, to speak about the Beehive Park. We, as residents within the town of Minto, are opposed to the decision of town council to declare Beehive Park Rest Area, Lot 83, Concession C, as surplus, which may result in the sale of such. This lot was the home of the first one-room schoolhouse in Minto Township, known as SS No. 1 Beehive. Its history dates back to the 1800s. Since the year 2000, the town of Minto purchased the property for, my understanding is $1, and has continued to operate it as a roadside rest stop and picnic area. It goes without saying that there will be associated costs incurred to maintain any property owned by the town, and also any property may experience vandalism. This site is no different than any other municipal-owned premise. Unfortunately, staff reported many incidents over the last few years of excessive garbage being strewn about, old furniture left there, and one case of raw sewage being dumped on the lot. This was very unfortunate for sure, but keep in mind this could happen anywhere within the town of Minto. It seems no one has any respect for anything anymore, and that is evident not only here but in general. We've read that staff is concerned about the misuse of the park, citing costs associated with maintaining it. Our understanding is that cost was approximately $2,500 a year. We have heard or read all the arguments or reasoning, most of them negative, associated with wanting to declare this area surplus. But we would like to offer some positive ideas and reasons for keeping this property and restoring the history of such. Historical preservation helps to keep communities vibrant and livable, but most importantly, gives people a stake in their surroundings. It connects people with their past and with one another. The history of SS No. 1 Beehive School is important because it connects us to specific times, places, and events that were significant milestones. So to be able to revisit and acknowledge this preserved piece of property provides us with a sense of place and gives us continuity between our past and present. The Beehive Women's Institute took steps to acknowledge this piece of history by placing a commemorative stone on the property, noting that it was the site of SS No. 1 Beehive, or the first one-room schoolhouse. We were very surprised to find out secondhand that the stone had been removed and wondered why it was moved and when that happened. This rest area is a wonderful green space with mature trees used by many travelers. The lot size is approximately a half an acre, or 150 feet by 150 feet. If sold, we question what a potential buyer could even use it for. To our understanding, there is no septic on the property. We worry about losing a beautiful green space and mature trees. In this day and age, it is all too evident that we all should be proactive and try to protect our environment. It was noted in council meetings that Mr. Carr felt that by selling the property, it would save maintenance costs and would encourage the traveling public to stop downtown to support local businesses. We disagree. It is our opinion that travelers may actually plan their route when heading to the beaches of Lake Huron because they know there is a place to stop. They use to rest, to use the washroom, and it's approximately halfway. Also, with McPhail's RV business just down the road, they could also stop and pick up anything they might need for camping. Who is to say that those same travelers do not then make a stop in Harrison to pick up last-minute groceries? To think that people pulling trailers or driving RVs would stop in Harrison if that rest area was closed seems far-fetched. There simply is not enough parking, and there are no public washrooms. They may in fact choose a different route if the rest area was closed. This space has also been used by the town of Minto for placing a mobile sign advertising events within the town of Minto. To take that a step further, an idea would be to have a sign installed welcoming travelers to the town of Minto. This sign could display such things as information about the 3 urban communities, a website address to check for upcoming events in the community, information on sewage disposal, note that there's overnight camping available, theater schedules, the list goes on. The idea being we should use what we already have. In comparison, the park at Mill Street is really not the place to do this. Mill Street is just not a convenient place that would be noticed. There are hundreds of folks that use that highway, and Beehive Rest Area has great visibility for advertising. Another person noted that the OPP used this rest area to sit safely off a very busy road to monitor traffic and speeders. Good location to slow them down just prior to a busy roundabout. With the Harrison Rising incentive happening, this would be an excellent place to be advertised as a social media Instagram trap. Seriously, the possibilities are endless when we all put our ideas and passions towards something like this. I personally attended SS No. 1 Beehive School for grade 1 to 4. I love to tell my kids and grandkids what it was like attending a one-room schoolhouse with grades 1 to 8 all in the same room. When doing so, their eyes pop wide open, almost in disbelief. For them to hear of how it used to be back in the day to what it is like now is priceless. It's just a little piece of history from a time they knew nothing about, but I honestly feel they should. It may take maturity for them to really appreciate and understand the importance and significance of these stories of times gone by, not to mention being able to take them there and actually show them. Sometimes when we make decisions, we may be guilty of doing so prior to gathering or sharing enough information in order to make an informed decision. We are aware that a vote took place by council in December, but we have to wonder if each council member were aware of the history of this site and the importance of it to our community prior to casting their vote to declare it surplus. Did you all make an informed vote? This delegation sincerely hopes that you, as our elected representatives, will reconsider your decision to declare this property surplus and prevent the sale of such property. Please consider some of the ideas how this would be in our best interests to maintain a piece of history and use it to our benefit. It is not always about dollars and cents. In closing, I'd just like to thank you all for the opportunity to share our concerns and views with you. And remember, buildings and historical sites are a part of who we are. To destroy or lose them is to erase the memory. Thank you very much. I put some questions for council on here, and I'm not sure if this is the appropriate time or if there's a discussion later to answer those questions. What say you?
I tried to mention the one, there was a little concern about the stone being removed. I will tell you that because staff at the time, if we had a buyer and a seller right away, or a purchaser, there was some concern you wouldn't be able to get the stone out because of frost and whatever. So they took it for safety and they got it at the shop. So it's not like it's never going back if the situation changes or if we find another home for it.
Well, there's been concern about in questions and discussed amongst some of the members, like, who does the stone belong to? And you know, when was it moved? And
Well,
those kinds of things.
I guess if it's sitting on town property, it would be town property at that point in time. I know it was donated by the Women's Institute way back in 2003. Just saw the picture of it. So, anyways, I don't want to get in a debate on it. I just said it wasn't meant to be meant out. And I don't want to get the staff in trouble. They didn't do it on purpose to make anybody worried. In fact, I went and looked and I was gone. I went back in and said, where to go? So then they told me that they thought it might freeze in, and then if we did sell it, we didn't want to lose that history part either. So yeah, it was asking the staff December to do it, wasn't it?
Just didn't get it done until January.
Okay.
So it just got removed recently then?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So just on that one. I guess we can mention the fact that, because that was at our meeting, when we had the meeting, that we asked the building inspector if you could build a house on it. Yes, you can build a house on it. That's why it's a building lot. I can't tell you what,
Septic and everything is-
I can't tell you what it's good qualified to be a building lot, because the council asked about that. And the other thing was, is it big enough to build? Well, 150 by 150. It'd be up to the individual that buys it, if they do buy it, when he buys it.
We don't have potential.
No, we don't have a potential buyer at this point.
Okay.
And I think that pretty well covers them all.
Has there been an appraisal done on the property?
Yeah, well, I'm sorry, there has been appraisal, but I can't tell you the appraisal amount because we don't do that.
Okay.
Because,
I'm just asking
Yeah.
these questions on behalf of the other people.
yeah, and I would just say, yeah, kind of, if you know what a building lot's worth, 150 by 150, it's fairly expensive to buy a lot anymore.
In the country especially.
In the country especially, because they're not made anymore, right? You can't get that type, even that lot to build, so, but there was an appraisal done. Well, I think it covered them. But those are all in some of the report.
Those are all the questions that we have put forward.
Okay.
Is there public discussion on this later, or is this?
It'll depend on the council, what they
Okay.
may want to do.
Okay, I'm done.
Okay, thank you.
Very much.
Just a question, Mr. Mayor. There's a question here, will council reconsider your decision? Can we do that tonight? Or can that be put off to another meeting? What's your feeling on that?
I don't think that this is something that you would do during a delegation, but there may be an opportunity during,
If you wanted to bring a motion later?
Or, okay, thank you.
Okay. Yeah. You did very well, Meg. That was well done and well written.
Yeah,
And thank you for your report, and thanks for the people that came to support your position. Okay, thank you.
We got a hand down here.
Oh,
I was wondering if I could speak to this.
no, it was the delegation. Were you part of the delegation?
that's at the call of council.
Is there anything different than what the delegation talked about?
I have a proposal. I only knew, sorry, I'm not going to talk till I'm allowed to.
Well, is it to do with what the delegation talked about?
It does. I've known about this for 10 days, and I can't stop thinking about it. And I'm just wondering, like, you've done a pretty good job of getting some emotion going here, including myself. I was the one that found that the stone was gone. I stepped it off. I'm on that road. I have 2 properties on either side. I don't want to see the place go. I'm asking for you to give us a couple of months, put a plan together, see what we can do. Like, if it's about cost of maintaining, cutting grass, emptying the sewage out of the Johnny on the spot, give group whatever, let's get some meetings together. I'm keen. I want to see this thing stay public. I want it as a rest area, and I want it part of Minnow Township. Sorry, that highway's a menace. It's dangerous. I've been on there for 45 years, and I don't want to see this history go. And to sell it off once as a building lot? Sorry.
Okay, well,
I'll give you,
it was that fine.
I'll give you a loony,
Yeah,
and you've made
Sir.
how much money already?
sir, sit down, please.
There's a loony. Give us 3 months. Let's put a plan in place.
It'll be up to the council at a later date to decide what they want to do, so you'll have that discussion later. But we're not going to get into all the discussion now. I mean, I thought the delegation did a good job of pointing out their stuff. That wasn't in the delegation. They didn't say they were going to take over the park and run it. I didn't hear that. So I don't know if you belong to the delegation or not, but that wasn't in their comments. Okay.
Not yet, but he's
Okay.
welcome.
All right. Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Public question period. Public question period. Does anybody have a public question?
Concerning Beehive?
No. It's just any.
It could be. It could be.
It could be, but
It's got to be a question, though.
It's got to be questioned, yeah.
it's got to be a question, yeah. Yeah, no, we always have a public question time, so if anybody wants to bring a question, we won't answer the question at this time, but we'll take it under advisement, so if somebody wants to come out, hadn't time to put a delegation together like you've done, then they could bring a question. We wouldn't talk about it tonight, it would go to the next spot, so, yes.
Will we have any guarantee
Can I,
that
sorry.
will happen to the law, the memorial?
I can tell you right now, if somebody in this room wants to take it back and look after it, I'm sure the boys would let you do that. I won't get it.
Yeah, and we would have a tractor and everything else to do this for that.
Yeah. No, if it goes back, we'll make sure it goes back. I mean, it came out. Really?
You know, the law does not belong to the town.
Okay.
It belongs to the Beehive Institute, which I am a representative of. I'm angry that it was taken out of place. You've hurt my dignity about looking after something that was very precious to us, and now you want to destroy something that's even more
Well,
precious.
Darlene,
And losing the history of that school is just beyond me. I can't, I was raised in a school where there was 18 school classrooms and 40 kids in a classroom.
Mhm.
And you people that have had the opportunity to go to one new school, you just can't imagine how sorry I feel for you to not be able to realize realize what you're doing to the rest of the community by closing that school, that park. It is a piece of history that you'll never get back again. And I know I'm not supposed to say anything here.
Well, you could have if you wanted to.
My kids really are involved in the community, and I don't want to embarrass them by getting really upset. But I can't believe you're doing this.
Okay, well, thank you.
Ask them to come forward.
I submitted a letter, but it wasn't part of the delegation.
Oh,
I didn't know whether.
Sorry, Keith, can you just come up to the microphone just so we can hear you?
or I can maybe just say it for you, Keith.
You all received it, did you?
Yeah, we got it, Keith. Like, it didn't get on this list, but we have your letter.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for the letter, and yeah, we have it. So just, if that was your question, we do have the letter, and it was circulated. Okay, thank you. Okay. All right, excellent. We have correspondence. Has anybody got anything on the, and as all your letters, by the way, are on correspondence, so the council has all your letters. I don't think there was anything in there. Judy, do you want to speak to the revision thing?
Yeah, so, well, two things. I wanted to just ask that the letters that have come in too late for this meeting would go on the next,
Yes, we'll
just so that we have
definitely.
record of those.
Yeah, Keith will
official-
go on that, and I think there was one other one besides that.
Yeah, I was pretty sure that that would happen, but, so I attended the quarter revision in Howick Township. So we've done courts of revision here. The reason that I was invited to go over there is because there is a Minto landowner that's a benefiting landowner. This one was quite interesting because there was an appeal, an official appeal. I think I only remember one official
I know.
appeal in my history of drains, so it was quite interesting. And then I also, so the minutes are in there, draft minutes, and then I also included an OMAFRA briefing document, understanding the quarter revision procedures under the Drainage Act, and that's kind of interesting reading and something we could maybe read before we have our next one.
I might have to get that from you.
Well, it's in here.
Oh, is it?
It's here.
And I've saved it.
Oh, it saved it
Yeah,
for
yeah,
me?
it's in
I
here.
haven't got my computer with me. So.
Yeah. Like a fish without water.
I am. I feel like, and just as a side note on that, it's the first time I've ever been to a Roma or any conference that they actually brought up the fact in the Bear Pit about the Drainage Act, and they're actually looking at reviewing the Drainage Act,
Yeah.
which is like, how long has that been around? 18-something?
Oh, yeah, it's very, well, and as a matter of fact, this briefing note is from February of 2010. Like, there's not a lot has changed in the
No.
Drainage Act for many, 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 many years.
Do you have a second thing, or is that?
The first one was about the letters.
Right. Oh, yeah,
They
gotcha.
Hit next meeting's agenda, and then that, yes.
Anything else?
Just the James Way Manor, just a brief recap. I know it was there for reading, but they had an operational review by the county. Some minor adjustments as far as paperwork and things. Theirs is a smaller organization and don't have many of the issues that the larger housing units do. It is full currently. I think the last tenants were moving in, so a very good asset for the community up there and well appreciated by the people who are residents there. And Karen does a phenomenal job of operating it for us. I think it's one of the most successful housing places for seniors in our area.
And I hope, Gene, you let them know that we feel good about the fact that they're running that, and
Oh, yes.
what a good gem it is for us.
Yep.
And,
No.
yeah, you hear nothing but great things.
No, it's very well done.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Oh, Mark?
Oh, just one comment on the accessibility minutes.
Yep.
In there, number 10, the Ride Well service program that was introduced by the county a while ago. On paper, it looked great, and people are using it. But we had complaints there that if you had somewhere to go and golf, they let you off at the edge of golf, and you're on your own. So it's not really, I'm not sure how the county's going to deal with that, but it doesn't seem fair to drop somebody off and you find your own way in the town.
So a little bit of the problem is licensing, I can tell you. We've been working on it. So if say you're a taxi in Fergus, you could drop somebody off and go off, but you can't pick somebody up and go off, technically, and the bylaws. So we're working with Guelph, and working with the system to try to see what we can do, whether we can go point to point, because that would really help us, especially if people have appointments.
Right.
So we're trying to come up with some way to work with the legislation that's there, the bylaws that are there to do it. I was taken back on it myself. And the other thing, I think on the accessibility side, we're working on some of the issues around if you have a disability, how you're going to pay for it and do some of that. Mark, that was brought up, I think, in one of the things. There was a concern because it's online and whatever. So they were looking at that as well. But, yeah, Ridewell's, I think it'll be a good asset once we get a few of the bugs.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I just
Yep,
thought
no
I'd bring that up.
Oh, it's a good point.
That topic came up as well at Jamesway with Paul Skinner, who's now advanced to a different position. But Ridewell, it requires an internet, like an email
Yes.
address and a credit card. So a lot of the people that would really benefit from the service won't have either of those things. So they took it under advisement. And I said, I tried to use it the very day after you announced it here, and I could not obtain a ride for the person.
Yes, and the credit card issue is a big issue, and they're trying to get to where they can do a debit or what they call a prepaid.
You can get a prepaid credit card
Yeah.
apparently from the bank, but they need to have an email
Yeah.
address because they only
Oh,
take
yeah.
the bookings on email. They won't take them by phone. And that's a real concern for the people who, most of the seniors or a lot of the seniors aren't comfortable with the technology.
Yeah.
And the disadvantaged people don't have a computer probably. So it is a bit of a concern, but they did take that back. They
Yeah,
were
I know it's
happy to hear
ongoing.
feedback.
We're trying to get, so if you hear of anybody that has issues, let us know, so we try to work through them so that we can provide the service.
Mayor Breach.
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor Breach. So on behalf of the Maitland Valley Conservation Authority, we had a long service employee retire in December. His name's Jeff King. He was the watershed stewardship service coordinator and will certainly be missed. A lot of experience there, but we have hired somebody to replace him, so we're very fortunate to have some local young man up around Roxeter, and we're going to move ahead. So, thank you.
So turn it over to Judy.
Motion for
Can I have a motion to, Jean
Sure.
and Judy, to accept the correspondence? All in favor? All right. Yep. Judy, would you take this over? You're assume the chair on this now?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have Mike Doucette, our DWQS representative, and he's going to tell us about the external audit that we had recently and the outcomes.
On Monday, November 18th, 2019, SAI Global completed the Town of Minto's external audit for our drinking water systems based on DWQMS 2.0 being fully implemented. The end result of that audit was that the town maintains their accreditation status to continue to operate our drinking water systems. There were no minor or major non-conformances in the audit, but there was 6 opportunities for improvement. Most of those opportunities for improvement have already been addressed since the audit came to us. One of the opportunities for improvement was regarding our QMS policy statement. There was one word that they wanted changed to better reflect the standards. So the policy reads, the town of Minto is committed to supplying a consistent and safe drinking water supply which meets or exceeds all regulatory standards. We strive to achieve these goals through creating, managing a system comprised of policies and procedures which exhibit ongoing evaluation staff, competency through training, communication of pertinent information with consumers instead of customers. That was the one word that they asked that we change or whatever that way. And the town staff workplace safety and contingency response measures. The management and staff of the town of Minto are committed to producing, maintaining, and continuously improving the quality management system. And I just ask that council endorses the updated and revised policy statement.
Okay. Are there any questions for Mike? Okay, seeing none, the recommendation is the Council of the Town of Minto receives the DWQMS Representatives 2019 External Audit Outcomes Report, and that all council members review, approve, and endorse the report and the updated QMS policy statement. Moved by Deputy Mayor Turton and seconded by Councillor Gunson. Okay, all in favor? Okay, thank you. I think our water consumers should be very confident in our water system.
They should be.
Am I doing the next one, or are you? Okay? All right, so I'll call on Paul Judge, our Town Landscape Coordinator, and he has a great presentation here for us.
You make us feel like spring, Judy.
Yeah, I know.
I mean,
Love that
I'm
picture.
getting
That's
into it.
fantastic.
I'm getting into it.
You can only hope. How many?
How many, a month?
2 months?
Lots to do between
Is
now
that a
and then.
guarantee?
There's no guarantees. Groundhog next month.
Yeah, well,
It's not
makes
far away.
mistakes.
Next week.
Well, you're into it.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, members of the public, good to see everybody again. I'm not even here to ask for anything, just kind of
Excellent.
Oh,
Show and tell,
cool.
good.
So, no, just kind of to elaborate a bit on, I'm sure many members of council and the public and other staff are fairly aware of my little department that I head up here, and some maybe aren't so aware. So this is just kind of a bit of a brief little rundown on what we do. Some of the stuff I think is very visible, and other parts of it maybe less so. And just kind of explaining our expansion of staff resources a little bit that was approved going forward. So that's the intent of my report here. So if you want to go ahead here, just briefly, isn't that nice to see some spiritual? I'm just going to run down just what our general tasks, some of them fairly major in each season, what we do. Obviously, the cleanup in the spring is significant. You're dealing with any of the debris and the garbage that's remaining from things that maybe didn't get cleaned up in the fall or are a result of clearing snow in the winter. You may have things that need replaced because they've been damaged through, that could be some of the things we do, it could be some of the things that happen because of the weather, it could be some of the things that happen because of the public. So unfortunately, a lot of these, I itemize these things and they all take the same amount of space on a piece of paper or a slide, but in reality, the amount of man hours they take they can vary a lot. You're looking at maybe doing some new plantings if you planned on expanding things here and there. Some of the physical heavy stuff, you're doing some edging of the gardens, you're trying to make everything defined and ready to go for another new season. Mulching, everybody loves that. Nice, like the coat of paint that you put on outside, make everything look pretty. And trimming shrubs. Some of the tasks too are things that you can't just say that's done, check it off, move on to the next thing. They're ongoing. We all know that just because you did that thing, Mother Nature isn't going to let the weeds grow and soil and mulch your road and all the rest. If you want to advance there to the summer tasks, then you're getting into the heat of summer. You're keeping things alive when they're a little bit thirsty and dry. Obviously, you're putting in your things that are going to be colorful for all your visitors and your residents. Some of these things are ongoing, and you're weeding still. You're trimming shrubs. You're trying to keep things under wraps. The watering begins for us, which is probably what a lot of the public actually sees us do, and it's a full day we're looking at, 3 days a week currently. It's fairly monumental when you figure 3 days, if you've got a 5-day work week and you take 3 of those where your time is consumed by watering, now you're down to 2 days a week to do anything else. So that's kind of a major driver in us asking for a little bit more help. So things like the parks that the weeds don't stop growing just because you have started watering other things, right? So keeping up to the rest of that. So not all the spaces are really seeing quite as much as the things we're out there watering, but they still need that help throughout the season to maintain them and keep them looking good for the public. In the fall, obviously, you're trying to get a little bit of a head start on tasks that you won't need to put as much man hours into in the spring. So you're cutting things back, cleaning things up to the best of your ability. Trying to be proactive. You're getting your bulbs planted. If you're looking at getting some spring color things, you obviously have to have done the previous season. Putting away all the stuff, as sad as that seems, you're putting away all the color. I have to say it's a little bit therapeutic too. After you've nursed things along all through the season, you get to rip them all apart and kind of like therapy in a way.
I hate that part.
I hate it. That's not fun.
I'll just trust you on that.
Yeah. And then beyond the fall, there's a lot of people think like, what do you do during the winter? You water pretty flowers for a few months a year. What do you do? Don't have any trouble finding things to keep busy. Some of those things I think maybe were because I'm here year round, kind of taken on because I'm available and I'm happy to do that sort of thing. I don't think there's too many other staff members who'd be disappointed about me doing the Christmas display. I don't think there's too many else for that. I'd rather decorate the float, and I would rather.
Yep.
Yeah,
The
great
truck
job.
looked great this year.
Great
Yeah, it was
job.
great.
So yeah, no, I've just been kind of, some of those things because I don't mind doing them. I kind of get a kick out of that sort of thing, and you're around, sure, we'll give you that to do. So go on. So that's been a fun part too. You're given a little bit of leeway in that regard. Snow removal, which I'd have to say I didn't have any experience with before I came here, other than a personal level, and I was a little intimidated with it, but I've sort of embraced that and rolled with it. And haven't broken anything too major too often. And then training, you're looking at some things for my own role, expanding that, things that will tie into the roads department, things that will expand a bit on my own level of expertise, and then planning. You're daydreaming about warmer days and better color outside, all those sorts of things. So here, just a brief, I'll try and keep this rolling too, so we're getting late here, right? Again, like I mentioned, everything is one little line on the sheet, but some of them are monumental. If you look here at the bottom of the list that I've got in Palmerston there, Lions Heritage Park, that if I were to have done that, represented these all graphically, that would be probably equal to everything else put together. So there's some significant spaces there. You notice that under each of the three towns, the very last bullet point that I've put down is the streetscapes. That you see, that's a small portion of what I have listed there, but it's the thing that I think everybody notices and comments about that they see, and so that's one small item of all of the bubble. So I appreciate the agreement to give me a little bit more help in keeping up with the rest of the stuff, because people do notice the other things too. It's all part of keeping everything looking good. So just a couple of slides here, just to kind of represent this is what I mean by the streetscapes. So the planners that the town provides and the ones that the horticulture societies do as well, those are all just from this past season, 2019. If you want to move ahead to the next one, there's a couple other things. There's some of the places that we plant working alongside with members of the horticulture societies. It's not all just what the town's doing. So people, another great thing I really enjoy about what I do here is you're in an approachable position with the public a lot of times. A lot of the other public works staff are in machinery or trucks and maybe less approachable, and it's kind of nice to be able to communicate with the people and you hear the things that they do appreciate about what is being done. And so I mentioned there, you'd agreed to give us a little bit more resources as far as staff goes. Major reasons for that being, or reasons for requesting that is that these are all things that have become part of what I'd like to accomplish or have been asked to accomplish beyond what was being done in this role before it started, or since I've started over the last few seasons. So you can read those items there. Some of them are the pretty stuff, some of them are killing stuff, but things that all need to be done. Move ahead there too. So currently, or up until recently, it's been myself and then one or two summer students that tackle that. So spring and fall are, those are significant seasons too, where there's a lot to be done, and you don't have a student. And fortunately, the public works has been very agreeable in loaning me some people to help with watering and some of the tasks that I can't accomplish just on my own, or when you need an extra truck, an extra body, extra equipment, that sort of thing. We're looking at some extra staff to help me out with that too throughout the entire season, and my hope is that we'll be able to keep things at a desirable level of maintenance. So understandably, if you've got a bar you'd like to reach all the time, if the amount of work expands, you can't expect to reach that bar with everything all the time. So we may look at a few things like modifying the watering schedule too. If we've got another staff member who can do that, that might free up some of the time. I was saying we're down to like 40% available time when we're doing that. If you want to advance there too. The other major goals, we mentioned Lions Heritage Park, that that's a difficult one. You're barely treading water there to keep up to the standard you'd like to have it throughout the season. So we're hoping with some more resources, more time suited to that, we could maybe split into a couple crews, and particularly in the summer when your time is eaten up by doing some watering, you can have another crew who's able to spend some time in the park there. The cemeteries as well, not just the gardens, but being able to keep a little bit more on top of the overall appearance of those, whether there's limbs down, there's graves that need topping up for the overall appearance of that, and keeping just a closer, more regular sort of tab on how that's going. And then another one that we're looking at adding to that portfolio or that role would be, because it ties in with the baskets going up and coming down, and using those poles for the banners being swapped out from season to season. So that would be something that we can take on, myself with another staff member, and the lighting for the Christmas season as well. And so it's not just us doing it. Fortunately, we've got support from both the horticultural societies in Clifford and Harrison. A lot of those members are here tonight too. The Lions Club in Palmerston, they've been great to take on some projects and fund some projects, donate some things, maintain some things too. The school classes have helped out as well on a few things. And then at the bottom there, I've just highlighted the three groups within each of the towns who are rolling quite with a lot of momentum here. The last season has been just a real added excitement, I think, in all the downtowns with the hype around those groups. And so my thought is, if we can work in tandem with those, they're more likely to, or if we can keep our standard up, they're more likely to want to work in tandem with us too and help us out with, because we really have a common sort of mission going forward to keep things looking good and make people want to be here and make people want to come here. And then just kind of to recap that, we're fortunate, or I'm fortunate, we're all fortunate to have the support of those people, the volunteers. So the horticultural societies, the downtown committees, the businesses as well are supportive of that, and we just want to keep that momentum rolling and encourage that continued support. We're lucky that some of the businesses donate things to us too, and we're just hoping to keep everybody on the same page and kind of heading in the same direction and in a positive way.
Okay. Thank you very much, Paul. Are there any questions? Ron?
Just comments, Paul. I get to see you out in my backyard an awful lot. You work at the park.
Are you doing his garden?
Yes. Unfortunately, you wouldn't.
You can ask that.
Your group just amazes me how you even keep up with what you're doing. I mean, in the heat of the summer, which we can't talk about now, but you guys are out on your hands and knees and working away. You don't stop until you get it done and try. And then I talk to you about you almost one person would take to do the Lions Park alone for a week just to get through it and then start back up again. And yet you guys seem to be able to keep up with an amazingly tough project. And you go to the other parts of our community in Harrison and Clifford, again, as much as you have volunteers, you guys work very hard at it. And I appreciate what you do, and hopefully with your staff that's well needed, that things will look up and things will move forward for you.
And we haven't really laid out really a plan of how that's going to be delegated. I think the idea is that it'll maybe be someone who's rotated in, so there's not one person who is punished with spending the entire season. We'll kind of rotate them in and out, so that, and good for them, a good experience, I think, for them too, to see another side of what goes on here too. It's kind of good to have a broad range of skills or understandings, I think, too.
You've had great students too, like for young people, they sure take their job seriously and work hard.
Yeah, and just kind of from my perspective too, just don't feel like my presentation was here to say that I feel like I have too much to do and I'm spread thin and I'm losing my hair. But I enjoy what I do, so just an understanding that there's lots to do, but I don't like doing that. But I understand that I can keep up to everything as well.
Well, you're very passionate about what you do, and it shows in your work, that's for sure.
I
Something you
was
wanna say?
just going to echo those sentiments. I think personally the town has never looked better, partially due to your efforts, partially due to Harrison Rising and the excitement in the downtowns and Palmerston all aboard. And I would suggest that we could look at some of that as we did those lists of volunteers with those groups that maybe don't want to be working in the Lions Park every week, but they might do a work day. So if we got everybody out there and did a day with everybody working together, and I know the Hort Society is happy to help you when we can, but the town looks great and your efforts are truly appreciated.
Mayor Bridge?
I really appreciate you doing the float this year because we wondered what the heck happened, didn't we?
Well, we
I mean, the guys did a good
Oh, we
job of
knew.
putting a couple strings of lights on, but when all of a sudden there was like signs and things and
Candy canes.
Andy canes.
Blinking lights.
And,
We're like, wow, Paul
And
must
at
have
the
been
town
here.
office and Tannery Park, what you did there with the stuff was amazing. And so, Paul, we really appreciate all your hard
The
work.
first couple of years, the public works staff would kind of pass on the programs I was doing in Arts and Crafts Day and ask them what they do. Now they just kind of ask me.
Well, I'm sure they're happy you're doing it.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
thank you.
Anybody else with a comment? There's no recommendations, so, okay, so I'll pass the chair back to you, Mayor Bridge.
Am I back to me? Where are we?
We're on my report, Mayor Bridge.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. Mayor Bridge and members of council, I have a pretty good news. It's the 12th annual Volunteer Appreciation Event again now this year, to be held in April. It will be held in Clifford this year during the week of April 19th to the 25th, which is National Volunteer Week. We usually host the dinner at 6:30. Now, there is a council meeting on the 21st, so we may want to take that into consideration on what date you want to have it. And as well this year, I thought something a little bit different and a little new is the ability for groups or individuals to nominate an outstanding volunteer to be recognized at the annual dinner.
I think that's a good idea.
So what I'm looking for is then that the council, the town mental receives the report and provide comments and direction for this event.
So we're
Well,
looking
I'm
for a
looking
date.
for- I'm looking for a
I think we're
date.
looking for a date.
Oh,
first.
date.
Yes.
wow.
That is something that if you wish to provide later on, that's fine as well, but
Usually
the Thursday is sometimes,
Wednesday or Thursday right after the council.
Yeah.
Probably be better.
That'd be good, yep.
That would be the
23rd?
23rd.
mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be
Is that the
available.
is that the
I wouldn't be
last
available
Thursday?
during the day to help
I
out.
could be available in
Is
the.
that the last Thursday?
He's going to be on wash-up duty.
No, the 30th is.
And
Oh, good, so I don't county council, so that's good. The 23rd would be good. We haven't figured out where we're having yet, right?
Could we look at the 22nd instead?
We need a survey.
Wednesday night?
Or the Wednesday, the
I'm not
22nd?
available on the 22nd.
Oh,
23rd you are?
okay.
You're not able on the 20?
I can do either.
You're good.
I'm just not available during the day. I'm in Toronto till 4 o'clock, so.
There's lots of work for you to do after dinner.
We'll have you do
Oh, yeah,
dishes.
I know,
Clean
do
up.
dishes, yeah, clean up and dishes.
Usually it's Dave who does the dishes, but
Thank you.
Gina, you were able to
Dave's
do,
wife.
are you doing beans this year? 'Cause I wanna
Well, it
know.
depends on the menu. I do homemade buns, too.
Oh, there you go.
Butter
Write
tarts.
that down.
I'll make a
Butter
motion for
tarts.
23rd then.
23rd?
I'll second it. Oh, sorry.
Okay,
Good. Well, we'll have to work
let
on
us
the
know what
menu.
we're making.
Work on the
Annalee.
menu.
okay.
Am I next?
You are. I
Thank
turn it
you.
over to you.
Thank you, Mayor Bridge. We got one item on the agenda tonight for, to do with the treasurer's report. Gord Duff, Treasurer Gord. You want to go right into your report, please?
Sure, thanks, Chair Turton. And just the one thing this time, I know we had a lot on the first meeting of the year. So our bill total is a little more normal. Some of the things we had to do a lot of computer work at the end of the year, courtesy of Microsoft, because I think the date has now passed that they removed support for our Windows 10 and our Office program. So we purchased those licenses and did some minor hardware upgrades, but one of the things we had to do. We've also been working on the National Disaster Mitigation Program grant, and primarily it's investigating the scenarios, and we had about $54,000 in expenses on that project. Time of year, we're buying salt, so about $17,000 in the last couple of weeks. And we're still, it's kind of like Paul's doing what do the engineers do in the winter while we're planning and designing projects for the coming year. So we've got 17,000 in that. Still working on Palmerston Well 3. We've upgraded some pumps and pipes for 28,000, and also some upgrades in the wastewater, electrical upgrades, and they were in the capital budget before for about $15,000, and those half-ice boards at the arenas for 11,000. So it's the main highlights.
Questions for our treasurer? Hearing none, then the to accept,
It's at the beginning now.
it is at the beginning, thank you. Recommendation is that the Council of the Town of Minto receives the treasurer's report dated January 14th regarding the approval of the accounts, and approves that the Town of Minto accounts by department for January 2020. Thank you, Mayor Bridge, for moving that. Councillor Dirksen seconded. All in favor of that motion? That's carried. Thank you very much, and we'll pass the chair back to our mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And this comes to other businesses, disclosed additional items. Jean, you had one?
Yes, maybe two now. Just a reminder that Friday night is the Farmers Market's Trivial Pursuit evening at the Legion in Palmerston. Should be an interesting evening. $10. You can have a team of 2 to 6. And it's a great fundraiser for the market, and that market is a very successful venture that we would like to see carry on and support. And I don't know if this is the correct time to make a motion or a notice. Oh, no, they're later. Sorry. I'll carry on.
Okay. Judy, do you have one?
I did not have one.
Who had- Oh, it was David.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Bridge. So February 19th at 2 p.m. is the Maitland Valley Conservation Authority's annual general meeting, and it's going to be held in Goderich this year. And for those of you that know Deb Schufeld, he's been he was the mayor of Goderich for quite a number of years on council up there. He was on the Lake Huron Shoreline Committee. He's retiring, so put that in your calendar if you're interested in coming up. I have a seat in my truck. Thank you.
Thanks, David. Anybody else? Did anybody else have one? Mark, yeah.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I think through respect for public opinion, is there any interest from this council in revisiting the beehive matter through a motion? If there is,
Making the motion?
I'll make a
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
there probably would be a point of order in that. My recommendation is that we would send this back to Pratt for the reconsideration, and then in turn bring it back to council for their consideration. That times we give a chance to revisit everything that was said and everything was brought forward without. I'm afraid if we went to a point of order, it takes 2/3 council to bring a resolution back, because a resolution has been, to revisit the resolution that has been passed in the past. And I would afraid if you bring a motion now, that you would lose that motion, because it would take 5 votes to be able to pass that through. If it was brought back as a revisitation, then we have a chance to discuss what we want to do and where we move forward.
So,
I'd be afraid if you made the motion, and then if you made that motion and you lost, or as a council, we didn't revisit it, then you never bring it forward again.
are you talking to me or through?
Yeah, I'm talking to you. You were talking about making a motion.
Okay, so we would get a chance to do it again through the sale of the property?
No. The motion read that there was also a sale of the property.
And
It was a
that's-
surplus and the sale of the property. Actually, it's in the minutes. So to
personally, I'd rather-
revisit, I'm just trying to protect, what's happening here. If you revisit it and we vote it, if we don't get 5 votes to bring it back on 2/3 on point of order, then it would never be revisited again. You can't.
so what I'm hearing...
What I'm suggesting
Yeah.
is take the opportunity now, take it back to Prac so you don't lose that. I think it'd be a very precarious position if you put it
So.
all the work these people have put
So,
forward.
Ron, if I want to clarify for you, and someone for the council, so what we're saying is we're not going to do the motion, because if we did the motion, then they may not get a chance. So PrAC's going to have a chance, but I'd say give the staff at least a month to get all the information that's been presented tonight and go through what they know now, sort of what the values are and whatever they may want to. Because I think PrAC was looking at, and in fairness to the staff, you have to understand, we tell the staff all the time, look for savings, look for opportunities, and that's what they were doing. They were coming to us with, this is an opportunity, this is a chance to maybe divest on a property, you know. I mean, we've heard now from some of the public that there's a lot of concern out there. At the end of the day, they came with us with that, right? And we know there's a value there, and they also would come with probably what they would use the money for if they were going to do it, which we never got into either. But anyways, I'm just saying that would be, I would like to see it go that way, rather than, because I'll tell you, I think Ron's right. If you bring it up right now, I don't think you get your two-thirds, and then you're not going to have their voice be heard.
Because it'll be,
Okay, so
So does it take a motion then to send it back to PrAC, or how do we do that?
Like, I don't understand how it can go back to PrAC without a motion.
you can make a motion to send it back.
You can make a motion to send it back to PrAC.
Okay.
But you can't make a
Yeah,
motion.
we can't make a motion to overturn what we've already said.
So we make a motion to send it back to PrAC for them to re-examine the issue and come back with a different recommendation?
Well, they may,
Or whatever
or whatever the
recommendation.
recommendation they come back, and then you'll have the chance to do it.
Okay.
It's just a point of order that,
So that being said, I think before it goes back to PrAC, we let them come back with their plan, like the gentleman said.
Well, I think on any
He's
information,
got
you'll
some
have,
information that he maybe talked about cutting the grass or cleaning it up.
well,
right? I think
yeah, well, that's jumping into conclusions at this point, Jeff. I
Okay.
think what you want to say is any further comments or information, you'll have a month to get to us, like, you know, right?
Yep.
So if there is another whole different thing, then PrAC has a chance to look through it and see what the
So you need a
pros and
motion?
cons of it all.
So,
So we make
if
a
I
motion
may,
to
the PrAC had already had a look at this, and they recommended the same. We're going to have to go through this process again
Yes.
unless they change their mind. I'd rather deal with it tonight and put it on, whether we deal with it tonight or at another time, whether council's interested in revisiting, that we can vote on that tonight. If it goes back to PrAC, we're going to have to go through this again.
No, but you're asking us now to change our overall vote. It's
I am.
different than getting more information to PrAC, having PrAC come back with a recommendation again. I mean, their recommendation, we took their recommendation and passed it. So that's a different motion than giving them more opportunity with what they've heard tonight to come back with what their thoughts are.
So if PrAC has a
But if you
different-
want to call the motion, that's up to you. You can call
PrAC
the
has a
motion.
different view.
Yeah.
just, sorry, you look very angry with me, but I'm just trying to make a point here that the first motion you have to make is you have council to revisit the Beehive motion.
Right.
That's the first motion that you would have to make. At that time, you have to have two-thirds vote for it to be revisited.
Right on.
And if you don't get two-thirds vote,
Never be asked again.
it'll never be asked again. You can't bring it forward again. So you're taking a chance tonight that you may lose that two-thirds vote,
Up to you.
it's over.
I'm taking a chance also on PrAC not changing their mind.
Well,
They-
at least you have an
they've been
opportunity.
there.
At least we have an opportunity.
Okay, let's do it. We'll get a chance to do this again, if that's the case.
That's what I think should happen. And then all this information wasn't brought to PrAC at the time. All we had is one-sided information. So this is an opportunity for PrAC to revisit and talk over it. Gives us a chance to revisit it.
Send it to PrAC.
And, well, I think, Ron, you made that motion. Send it back.
I would make a motion that
Send it
be
back to
sent
PrAC
for
and
their,
revisit in a month's time.
yeah.
I can second it.
Seconded by Dave. All in favor of that motion?
Can we ask a question first?
Yep.
So if by sending it back to PrAC, is not that not the same as revisiting it? Like, clearly there's some discussion
No.
here.
No, we're not dealing
No,
with it at council.
because
PrAC.
when we get the report back from PrAC, we'll have a chance, then, with that report back, you'll have to still have the motion to overturn it. But what Ron's saying is, PrAC hasn't seen this information, they haven't had that, you're giving them a chance to look through it, and we're also getting more of a chance to we never talked about where the money might go, or they could come up with what they want to do with it if they do sell it, right?
But if we made a motion to overturn it tonight, we're showing our support for these people, because clearly there's people, and I will fess up, I had no idea. I didn't grow up here. I didn't know about the school.
Well,
I
then call it,
appreciate your
Jean.
sentiment.
Ron is right. I would guess you would lose that. But and then you wouldn't be able to do what we're trying to do. I'm just saying this is a better, this is a bit of a compromise, but I think it's an opportunity to get all the facts on the table so that we can have a proper discussion again, and we'll still have to have that 2/3 vote, no matter what. Right, Judy?
Yeah, and I would agree that having that 2/3 vote with the added information from PrAC, that may help us.
Make a difference.
That may make a difference.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, yes.
That's right.
So I'm not overly confident in having that vote to rescind tonight myself, so.
It's up to you guys. I want to try to get this, I think it's fair for the people that came tonight, that gave us more information, that PrAC has an opportunity to hear that, but at the same time, if we do it the way you want to do it, Mark, unfortunately, I think they won't, that opportunity won't happen.
That's why I brought it up. Okay,
That's
so it's
fair.
out on the table.
Yep.
We
Yep.
got
All right,
an
so for all of
option.
that.
Perfect.
Let's go with it.
Yep. So the motion's on the table to take it back to PrAC for a month, to come back.
Well, however
in a
long
month.
they need.
However long, I just say, give them at least a month, because we got things to do, and
Okay.
Is it fair then to look at the group who are interested, and I'm thinking there would be other groups that would be interested in helping to maintain? If the issues, I understand the cost effectiveness, but these people are taxpayers, and they're clearly interested in having some of their tax dollars put towards it.
I don't want to get into that debate tonight, because there's all kinds of things, whether we can let somebody have a town property that do, I mean,
But my
let
question is,
PrAC
can
look
they
into
bring,
that, right?
can they bring some of that information forward?
I'm sure they
for
can bring that to
discussion?
PrAC, that's
So
not a
if they
problem.
come up with a plan, that they'd
Yeah.
be able to submit it for discussion at the same time as PrAC's report.
Well,
That's
I
all
would
I'm asking.
suggest they get it to PrAC, so that PrAC can
Okay.
work it out, right?
And will someone communicate that?
Yes, we'll get, yeah.
We're sort of out in the.
No, so everybody that's signed in, I believe, will get everything back to you.
Or anyone that sent correspondence, I
Send
will
correspondence
correspond
back,
back
Meg.
to you.
Okay.
Are you going to get cooperation from the, I don't know what you mean by PrAC.
Well, PrAC is our Parks and Recreation Committee.
That lady beside you was a member of PrAC for how many years?
Yeah. Anyways, so all in favor of that motion? Okay. Good. So I think that, so you're going to have to get us much information, if you have your thought process, to get it to the town office somehow, and we'll get it to PrAC. Okay? Good.
Can I just ask a question while we're still here? Is there any public discussion with any of this? Sorry for,
In what way? Like during a council
any
meeting?
more discussion on Beehive and the people that are here having a chance to say anything about it?
No, not
I'm
at,
sure we're all sitting here wondering, so I'm just
After the
going to be
meeting.
the loud one.
After the meeting.
No, this
well,
is-
after the meeting
this
and
is what-
talk to us individually, that's not a problem, or whatever, yeah.
This is what you wanted to state.
But not
I'm just
necessarily,
not familiar with the procedure.
yeah, but not necessarily any more discussion on, yeah, fair enough. Thanks, man. Yeah.
But we're almost done.
You know what? That's one thing in municipal government. You can always talk to us. You pick up the phone. I was talking to Keith 3 times yesterday, almost. I was in Toronto. So anyways, yeah, fair enough. Okay, where are we?
Still at other business disclosure.
Oh, I was going to say a couple things. Yeah, that's right. Oh, we got that. So just a couple things. As I said before, I was down at Roma, and there is some good positive things coming out. We had some announcements that our oomph for next year is going to be, for 2021, the formula is going to stay the same. It's going to keep the $500 million in that fund. We already had a big question mark on that, and that really affects us when we're trying to do budgeting, especially a year out. Gord, it'll be nice to have that, to know that. We did get our OSIF funding, came through. And we had the, I don't know if you guys are aware, people are aware that the county put money into, with a consultant to try to come up with shared services or things we could do together at all 7 municipalities in the county. And one of the ideas was working on IT, because IT is such a big issue now with cybersecurity and everything else. And so we put a joint application into the province and received $141,000 today to do more of an IT study to try to look at our IT concerns with Mapleton, Wellington North, and further on. So I think that was a great benefit, and they talked about it at the province and saying they're looking for more joint interactions to try to, government, try to make it as affordable as possible and as efficient as possible. So they're willing to give us some money to kind of work down that road, so hopefully we'll get some good stuff out of that. There was an announcement on SWIFT for fiber optic, and everybody in the room here probably hates me because Minto didn't get any of the fiber optic this first round at Wellington. And I'll send this press release out, and it'll get out. It's on Twitter and it's on Facebook as well, and it just explains a little bit about just what we were doing with SWIFT. So we always knew we couldn't build everybody fiber optic tomorrow. That's a $4 billion build out for southwestern Ontario, but this is a model that worked. We have 3 pilots. One was Wellington, and the government loves the model now. So now that we have the model there, I think new money coming from the federal government and the provincial government will actually flow through SWIFT, because we have the model that actually proves that we can work with a third party. In this case, third-party providers paid up to a third of it, and we made sure that it had to go to areas that were underserved. And we have a lot of farm communities and areas where they broke it together, and there's a breakdown in here where it went for this time in Wellington. But I'm really hopeful that this is the turning corner for high-speed internet, because we cannot survive in rural Ontario without having high-speed internet. It's not about Netflix. It's about working your robots for your dairy operations. It's about kids having the proper schooling because they don't have to come into McDonald's or Tim Hortons to get Wi-Fi if they're out in the country. We need all this, and that's the way the things are going. So it is a bit of a break, and we've spent $12.5 million in Wellington, and Wellington County put up $800,000, and that we leveraged it that much with the SWIFT program. And I've been on the board for too long. It's been 3 years working this through, and it wasn't easy. The government wanted to see something that was going to work, but I'm working with Mafra for 3 years, Judy, and it's a lot of fun. Love them dearly.
It's just easy.
Anyways, well, we got it in, and so although we didn't get anything personally in Minto at this point in time, we're closer to everything else, and I think that's just going to be an opportunity going forward to get there. So that's all I have. All right. At the moment. Something soon. Moved Deputy Mayor Turton, second by Councillor Gunson. The Committee of the Whole convenes at the regular council meeting. All in favor? What's the motion? We've covered that kind of often. Moved by Councillor McKenzie, second by Councillor Elliott. The Council of Town of Minto ratifies motions made in the Committee of the Whole. All in favor? Moved by Councillor Anderson, second by Deputy Mayor Turton, that the bylaw number 2020-08 to appoint a chief administrative officer for the Corporation of the Town of Minto be introduced, read first, second, and third time, and passed in open council and COC of the Corporation. All in favor? Judy, were you not in favor?
Yes, of course.
Now, poor Derek sitting out there. I know. So at this time, can I do this now? So at this time, Derek, could you stand up? I'm pleased that the town of Minto has gone out. I'll just read this. This is the media release. The town of Minto is happy to announce the hiring of our new CAO, Derek Thompson. Derek comes to the town of Minto with a wealth of experience and knowledge for his previous positions as CAO for the city of Guelph and the township of West Lincoln. His experience and innovative municipal leader for more than 30 years, progressive experience in the municipal field, which will be a great addition to the Minto's management team. Derek possesses a master's certificate in municipal administration and education from Queen's School of Business. After a very thorough hiring process involving a combination of council staff, we are thrilled with this announcement. Derek's experience in the municipal field, his leadership abilities will fit perfectly with the staff. Derek's first day of the job will be tomorrow, Wednesday, January 22nd. Please join us in welcoming Derek to Minto. Welcome, Derek. Would you like to say a few words?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I'm so honored.
Microphone.
Microphone. Oh, you have to come to the microphone. Sorry. I get in trouble because people at Whiteman's can't hear us, and then we're in trouble all the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of council. I'm so honored to be now your new CEO. I'm so excited to work with what is a great council and also great staff. I'd also like to thank Chris for all his hard work over the last
Yes.
year. So I think he deserves a hand as well. And I'd like to thank the community coming up for my first day. I appreciate that. That's fantastic. But
Well, you're used to that as well.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor and members of council.
Thanks, Jared. We'll see you tomorrow.
Yes.
Okay. Moved by Councillor Elliott, second by Councillor Gunson, the bylaw number 2020-09 to confirm the action of the Council of the Corporation of Town of Minto respecting a meeting held January 21st, 2020, be introduced, read first, second, and third time, and passed on with Council. Seal the corporation. All in favor? Moved by Councillor Dirksen, second by Councillor McKenzie. The Council of the Town of Minto adjourned to meet again at the call of the Mayor. All in favor? Thank you for a good meeting, everybody.